Okay, so as you can see, I bought the same materials that I asked you to buy, so that we can troubleshoot together and we can have this adventure together. Inside this kit is an emulsion. You have to sensitize it first. It's not ready to be used. So this is the emulsion and this is the sensitizer. You're going to want to open up the sensitizer, and it's not empty. There's a tiny, tiny little bit of fluid in there, and you're going to add water halfway. Okay. Close that up. Agitate it. And now you're going to add that to your emulsion. So we're going to add the diazo, the sensitizer. And agitate that. And you probably want to let it sit for a while. Remember, emulsion doesn't like to have bubbles. So stir it in really well and then let it sit for a little while. And then come back to it and coat your emulsion. Coat your screen, sorry. Okay, let's coat our screen. I have a small cup of emulsion, and now that I'm going to be using the emulsion, I'm going to turn off my white light and I'm going to turn on my yellow light. You can see the yellow bulb over here. This is just a normal yellow bulb from Home Depot. It's like an anti-insect bulb, but it works for our purposes. So I'm going to turn off the white light and pour some emulsion into a cup. We don't need a whole lot. So not even an ounce, I think, of this. Maybe about half an ounce. And you can do a couple of different things. So this squeegee comes with a kit, and I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour on the flat side. I'm going to pour a ribbon of emulsion. And I'm going to quickly pull it. Pull it from the other side as well. This gap that I have, I'm just going to use one of my little pieces of cardboard that I love so much and fill in that gap. The emulsion takes about 2 to 4 hours to set, depending on how the temperature is at the moment. Right now it's raining in Pacifica, in my part of the world. So I'm gonna let it sit for 4 hours. Besides, I wanna expose this with the sun tomorrow. So if it's still raining, I'll come up with plan B. But in any case, coating is pretty easy with such a small screen, right? If I want it to be really nice and smooth, I can take that squeegee one more time and just spread that around. Okay, pretty good coat, don't you think? So set a timer and come back in about 2 hours to make sure that you put them in a plastic bag so you can expose them in the morning, okay? Okay, so it's the next morning, and in the meantime, I have a clean piece of plexiglass that we're gonna use to kind of put some pressure on the whole structure. We're going to try and expose with the sun right now. It's around noon, which is the perfect time to expose, and thankfully there's some sunshine. I've also cut a couple of pieces of just black construction paper because we want to avoid as much light pollution as possible. So I'm going to turn off my light, turn on my yellow light. Even though there is a little bit of ambient light in my studio, it's not going to be enough to expose the screen. The screen, that emulsion is not as light sensitive as let's say photography. So I'm going to turn off this light, turn on my yellow light, and bring out the screens. Okay, so here's my screen, and I'm going to tape this black paper to it, to the concave side, okay? This will guarantee that the light that exposes the screen is only coming from above, which is what I want, from the sun, right? It's not, no light is going to leak through. And then, so this is now safe. We can talk for a little bit. I want to show you a couple of different options. I did have time to print some film, so I'm going to print with film today. But I also collected a few objects around my house, and we're going to just expose the objects to see what kind of marks they make. So these objects right here, relatively flat. And I also have, I just printed out a photo. And I have a little bit of mineral oil, and we're actually going to make a very DIY type of a film from this, okay? So this is just mineral oil. If you don't have any mineral oil, you can use baby oil, basically anything transparent that is oily. And with a cotton ball, we're going to pour oil all over the piece of paper, the piece of regular bond paper. That's going to make the paper transparent. We're going to saturate the paper. The paper is going to become transparent, and the only thing that's going to be left behind is my image. Now, I don't know if this image is going to work. This is a very light image. But as I've been telling you guys, it's time to explore and experiment and not be afraid of failure. So I'm going to give it a try. What I'm trying to do is get that paper to become completely transparent. Okay. As you can see, it's pretty transparent now. So we're going to give that a go as well. We're going to see what's going to work. I live in Pacifica. The sun here is not as strong, right? There's always kind of a cloud layer around where I live, although today is really beautiful. I'm thinking we're going to do a test, change the, do a couple of different exposures to see which one works best, okay? So I'm going to move to the backyard. I'll talk to you guys in a minute. Okay, so it's almost noon, which is the perfect time to expose with the sun. My screen is underneath that piece of black cardboard, underneath the plexiglass. As soon as I remove the black piece of cardboard, it's going to start exposing. I have a timer, and we're going to do a time test. So I'm going to do 3 1-minute exposures. So basically we're going to have a part of the screen is going to be exposed for 3 minutes, then 2 minutes, then 1 minute. Okay, let's start now. Okay, So it's almost 1 minute, so I'm going to put down the piece of cardboard again to cover up a portion of my screen. Okay. So that top part is going to be the 2 minute the 3 minute exposure. Okay. And now I'm just about to start my last exposure. Okay, I'm done exposing. I'm going to rinse it out. Okay, so as you can see, the screen worked really well. I think that the ideal time, if you're exposing at around noon on a sunny day, is going to be about 2.5 minutes. You can see we got a lot of detail, even in the face, which was that oil saturated piece of paper that I created. It's quite interesting looking, like you can see it right there. So since that went so well, I am also going to play around and expose three-dimensional objects to the sun and see what kind of interesting images they give us. Okay, so here's my screen. Right now it's covered in black paper on the top and the bottom so that nothing is going to expose until I'm ready. And those objects next to my screen are the things that I'm thinking of putting on top of the screen to see what happens. So it worked. The only part that didn't work out was the zipper. There was too much light pollution underneath it, but every other object made a wonderful mark and was registered in the emulsion. So this is the kind of exploration that I want you doing. It's going to work, you guys.